Live. Ian and Jamie here. However, I don't know that anyone is watching just yet. I think when people start watching, they will appear on this little icon here. I'll
Oh,
let
yeah?
you know.
Oh, all right.
But we're here today to talk about dog reactivity. We're running a sale on our dog reactivity training plan, which is 75% off for the next few days. And we want to share some ideas and answer some questions about dog reactivity. So I'll start with the first question
Oh, yeah.
until anyone
And
else shows up.
so we're recording this, right? So if they miss our intro, it's not like it's wasted.
Yes.
So I shouldn't hold it back until we have an audience of 3 or something. Just let it out of the bag now.
Right.
Yeah,
So the way
got
it
it. I
works
got it.
is anyone who's watching live will be seeing what's happening now. So if they were to sign on right now, they would
Mhm.
miss the intro. But then later,
They can go back and watch the
yeah, they'll be able to
recording.
watch the
Yeah,
recording.
got it.
And
Okay.
now I believe we do have a couple of people watching. What I would love is if one of you could post a comment, because in theory, we should be able to see the comments you post and react to them and share them, which is one of the exciting things, of course, of being live. So if you don't mind, please say hi. Maybe even let us know where you're watching from. You can tell us a little bit about your dogs. We'd love to hear about everyone's dogs.
Now they'll go on forever then. Just tell us where you're from.
No,
I
I
always
like
find
hearing
it
about
fun.
dogs.
Yeah.
But yeah, please post a comment
Or ask
and
a question.
we would love to see it. There's an example. Oh, yay!
Yay! Sophia! Hi. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, that means it works.
Hi. All right, cool. Fantastic. We'll get into it then.
So I needn't read. You're going to notice if anything comes up.
Yeah, I'll respond to the comments.
I got it.
And if anyone out there does have questions about dog reactivity, post them in the comments, and we will try to get to them. We might not get to everyone's, but we will try. So I'd say the first question is why? What is going on with dog reactivity? Why do you think it's become such a big and common problem these days?
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, I mean, anyone who's read my new book, Barking Up the Right Tree, I talk a bit about. Well done,
Look,
Jamie.
Ian's new book.
Totally. No, that was not a sell. It was just an impromptu comment, because there are basically 4 phases of training over the last, say, century and a half. So training, the techniques I grew up with on the farm were off leash.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't just mean cats and dogs. I mean cows and pigs and sheep and horses. I think I mentioned in my book that my great grandpa or great great grandpa won an off leash or a straight line plowing contest with his horse with no reins.
Mm-hmm.
It was off. I mean, that horse could have set off anywhere. Like, I don't want to do a straight. I'm going around here and going to do some graffiti over the field,
Right.
And that was the way it was. So training of animals, and primarily we're talking about, dogs and horses, and then secondarily stock animals, was off leash. 1903, it went on leash. And you basically, this was, what was his name? I can't remember. My brain's gone blank. Anyway, 1903 for military dogs, police dogs, training went on leash, and the technique was adopted by trialing competitions, obedience competitions, and such. And that was all that was available for the general public. They had to go to like a kennel club, training class. Well, as soon as it went on leash, we had masses of dog reactivity for 2 reasons. They weren't getting to greet each other their way.
Yeah.
So if you let dogs grow up together, they fight a lot as puppies. They fight a little as adolescents, but they don't fight as adults because they've learned dog savvy, so they can look at another dog and instantly work out, is that higher ranking than me or not? So there's nothing to fight about.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like there's not just one fastest gun in the West. You're soon going to meet someone who's faster. So what's the point of fighting? So in the 70s, when I got into this, I did a lot of on leash reactivity. So 2 things. They went on leash so the dogs can't socialize and work it out for themselves. And 2, at the other end of the leash is a human being who's fueling the dog's emotions. So I used to say it takes 2 to tango, but it actually takes 4 to tango. The dog, the other dog, you, and the other owner. And if one of them gets upset, whoa, it sets the other three on fire, and we have this horrible vicious circle. Then in 1982, I took dog training off leash again. And not only that, you didn't have to wait till your adult dog was 6 months to a year old before you could get into these on leash classes. No, when your puppet's 3 months old, you come to class, we let all the dogs off leash.
Mm-hmm.
In the first session, there'll be 1 or 2 little scraps from older puppies which still haven't worked it out. Or say they have another dog at home, an adult dog, so they're playing over the top in the major leagues, and they bring that to puppy class, and other dogs don't like it. But after the first session, there's no scrapping. The dogs are off leash, and they get to know each other, and they're learning this social savvy, how to deal with a scared dog. Or if you're a scared dog, what do? You sit, and you see the puppies teaching other dogs this. It's like they say, if you don't like other dogs chasing you, just sit down. That's the cutoff for all chasing and biting and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other, pushy dogs give confidence to dogs that what are you doing?
Telling you to look at the people.
Oh, I thought you were pointing at a fly on the screen.
You can look at me sometimes, but
All
remember,
right.
most of
Okay.
there's 24 people out there.
Wow, that's incredible. So, but the other thing that dogs learn, the puppies off leash, is dog savvy. So when they meet another dog in a park or on a trail, when usually off leash or on leash, that does not have their privileged socialization status. They may not be as well socialized. It gives the dog the savvy to know what to do, to shut down the threatening reactions from another dog. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And watching this happen in real time, when a dog is a teacher, I love it. When adult dogs teach puppies, or when puppies learn from each other what to do. So when dogs are off leash again, they work it out. And we did not have dog reactivity for about 30 years. It was a non-problem. So I forgot how to do it all. Well, COVID comes along. Off-leash puppy classes all stopped. I mean, we closed down, was it 25 branches on one day, shut it down. We went Zoom quickly, but we told people what to do to make sure their dog is socialized to other people through COVID, socialized to other dogs through COVID, with techniques that were COVID safe for people and parvo safe for dogs. I mean, how quickly did we do a Zoom on it? I think it was 3 weeks into shutdown, right? But of course, it didn't happen. And because a lot of now off-leash puppy classes shut down and many haven't opened up, now dog training's gone back on leash again. And when you look at the demographics of dog trainers now compared to right before COVID, I mean, we were going gangbusters in our off-leash puppy classes, and now there's very few trainers still doing it. In fact, there's not many trainers teaching classes anymore.
What I do want to say, and then
Yeah.
based on that, Veronica, one of our viewers, said, "I love it. Thanks to you, sir. My puppy, junior, adult, and senior dog classes are on and off leash."
Wonderful.
So that is something we love to see, is people running the off leash classes, because that's one of the things that's going to prevent dog reactivity.
Yeah, and one of the things we have to do now, because the off leash classes aren't available, vets can't refer to them. They don't know where they are. So one of the things Jamie and I want to do, we want to go back and to create a off-leash puppy trainers group, a directory. So I can give this to vets, because I'm talking at veterinary conferences again because of this. They're now complaining, they're getting bitten a lot, the dogs are unhandleable. And the major reason for an off-leash class, people think, oh, it's so puppies can play. No, that's a reason. More importantly, it's so puppies can develop bite inhibition with other dogs and people, like the other, the 24 people in class, the other dogs' families. So if they did bite, if they were provoked to bite, they wouldn't hurt. That's number one. Number two, to socialize the puppies with another 24 unfamiliar people. because by 3 months, the novelty of puppy parties with people in the home is kind of wearing down. And now it's the same old people. Well, that's not socialization. Socialization is socializing your dog to unfamiliar people. And this has to go on right up until they are adults, 2 to 3 years, depending on size of the dog. So 2 years for little dogs, 3 years for big old lunkers, rotters and mastiff breeds and such. Unfamiliar people. Obviously, the only way to do that is a walk a day. But to get out there, your puppy has to be socialized to people and other dogs and learn how to walk on leash. Well, we teach it in a very different way. We teach it off leash, 4 steps. So then at the end of it, training the dog off leash to follow you, walk by your side, heel by your side. Then we just put the leash on a trained dog, and few little provisos when you go for your first walk. Otherwise, the dog will learn to pull one walk on leash. So basically, dog training has been off leash for centuries. And then it went on leash 1903, 1982, it came off leash again. And we had these wonderful events for a good 30, 35 years at conferences like San Diego, 1999, 1,500 dog trainers, 300 dogs at the conference. No speaker lectured without a dog on stage. I mean, the most hilarious person was Sue Sternberg. She would pick 3 dogs from the audience and say, right, I'm going to teach these dogs to retrieve. So they're off leash on the stage. That you can't believe it. The Great Dane, or no, it was an Irish Wolfhound, had his head in her handbag. So then she put it down on the floor, sort of hidden. Now the beagle's in it. And I think the other dog was a husky. I mean, why pick those 3 breeds, But that's Sue, and she's training the dogs.
Okay, I want to switch gears a little bit.
Yes, let's switch.
First of all, I'd love to bring in some of our viewers. I'm curious, any of you out there anyone currently have a problem with dog-dog reactivity? It's become such a common problem. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the 38 people watching between YouTube and Facebook currently have problems, because we'd love to help you find solutions. And that's part of where I want to switch gears to. Prevention is obviously the name of the game for successfully resolving this problem in the big picture. But for people who are currently dealing with dog-dog reactivity, it's a question of solutions.
I think that's the whole
hold
point.
On. And I just want to also mention that, again, we did create a training plan with exercises, a series of exercises specifically for resolving dog-dog reactivity, to make it really as simple and straightforward as possible. And we are selling that currently for 75% off.
75% off.
Which I will put in the
We'll end up
comments
paying
below.
them soon. Hey, we're going to pay $100 to watch our new online.
No, not quite. It won't get quite that good. But yes, all right. Some people are letting us know. Lots of my clients do. So Zoe looks like she is a professional dog trainer with clients dealing with a lot of dog-dog reactivity.
Well, can I say something about methods? The whole point about, yes, off-leash classes are the way to absolutely prevent fear and aggression towards people and dog-dog reactivity. It doesn't exist. However, we now have to go back to techniques from the 70s. So this is when I introduced science to dog training, specifically positive reinforcement and classical conditioning. And I work with these on-leash dog-dog reactivity cases. But I was using a lot of stuff from the natural way of training animals off leash with verbal instructions, verbal feedback. So I had that under my belt, but now I'm bringing in operant conditioning or positive reinforcement, because when a dog's upset, the last thing you want to do is shout at him or jerk him or something and really ruin his day. He's stressed enough already. But classical conditioning. And because I was giving a lot of verbal feedback, well, firstly, how do we do that with food rewards? Well, it's a designated session for 2 hours. I mean, anything less than that, you won't get much done, and you must be stationary. and you're going to use about 200 to 300 food rewards. So now selecting the type of food we use is very important. So it obviously can't be commercial treats. It's got to be some type of regular, balanced dog food. I exclusively use air-dried products. The ones I pick are the healthiest products that are made for dogs, and it's the shape. They are rolled flat. They are 1 centimeter square, so you can break each piece into 8. So basically, 12 treats, 12 pieces of this dried food gives you what, 96 treats. So we only need 36 pieces of food to give us our 300 bits of reward as we sit down. Why must you sit down? If you move, you can't classically condition, because with every step, there will be 100 changes in the environment. So when you say good dog and offer a bit of food, the dog doesn't know whether you want him to associate that with the squirrel, the dog poop he was sniffing, the McDonald's wrapper, the skateboard going by, or the sound of that truck's air brakes, or that dog in a distance. So you want to sit down so the dog normalizes to the environment, and no feedback apart from basic obedience, like, no, settle down, you'll be cooler. And then when we see the dog, we start praising, upping the praise, upping the frequency of the food rewards. And as soon as the dog passes by and starts to recede, oh, he's gone. What a shame. We slow, oh dear, poor cookie dog's gone by. All right. So number one, that's the classical conditioning bit. But also it helps if you're operantly conditioning as well. If you can stop the dog vocalizing, you've taught him shush. If you can stop him lunging, we've taught him sit and down. So if we can keep the dog still and quiet, two things happen. You calm your dog, and instantly you calm the other dog that's approaching, the other person. They feel less threatened by your dog, so they threaten your dog less. So we have to learn the skill of how do we operantly condition and classically condition at the same time. So we have to move away from a binary here, right? We actually need the simplest form, a trinary feedback. But what I use is a totally analog feedback, so that my verbal feedback is reflecting the nature of the dog's behavior and the intensity or proximity of the stimulus. And you can do it so easily with your voice. If you're doing it with food treats, you've got to write it out on paper. We start with a quadrant. Binary feedback for operant conditioning.
Before we get into this, I think we'll come back to this. But I want to, because we're doing a live thing, I want to give the opportunity to interact with our
absolutely.
audience. Yeah. So,
well, I just want to know, I've got that out now.
Yeah.
If that was confusing, read it in my book.
Yeah. Well, or also in
I will re-explain it when Jamie lets me.
And also the dog reactivity training plan.
I feel like you've got me on a pretty tight leash, Jamie. I'm going to become reactive soon.
Okay.
You try and stop me. You point like that again, I shall bite the finger.
Well, yeah. One thing we want people to realize is that we got to work through conflicts. Can't just avoid stress.
Yeah, I have no patience.
Teach you to manage it.
Okay, I got it.
I think one point I wanted to call out, because I think you mentioned it at the beginning of talking about classical conditioning, but mentioned it very quickly, was that the most effective classical conditioning session is going to be 2 hours or more.
Yeah.
Which is a long time, admittedly. And while we've been talking about dog reactivity, one of the things we keep saying to people is, in a single session, you can transform your dog's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You can change a dog in one afternoon. Now, what we don't always mention immediately, but we should make clear, is that session is like a 2 to 3 hour session. And in that session, you give hundreds of food treats. And
oodles of praise.
Oodles of praise.
Or reassurance.
But
guidance.
We think it's totally worth it, because, right, in one afternoon, you can really change your dog's outlook on other dogs, and you can make a big dent in this problem of reactivity. I'm wondering, for those of you with dog reactive dogs, have you ever tried a classical conditioning session? What is the longest classical conditioning session you've tried? My guess is most people have not sat down on a park bench or sat down outside of a dog park for 2 or more hours. And that's where, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes really isn't going to cut it. And that's where you're going to end up taking months to resolve dog-dog reactivity. Because that's what we've been hearing so much, is that, like,
It goes on and on and on.
right, that these reactivity problems take a really long time to resolve. And they can, but you can get it done relatively quickly with the right method. So,
And working below threshold, because always people say, but you're flooding the dog, that's stressful. I say, look, because thus far you have done nothing. Your dog has been stressed his entire life when he meets other dogs, yet you still walk him. He has to meet his biggest nightmare every day. Yeah, your dog is under stress. We don't have time to delay and take months resolving it.
mhm.
Now, I say a lot about flooding and say you shouldn't flood a dog with a stimulus that can move. So if the flooding stimulus can come towards your dog, so we want the dogs contained. Beauty of the dog park. All the other dogs are contained. You can start 100 yards back.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but now I've changed my mind because of COVID. After COVID, I worked with about half a dozen dogs scared of their own shadow. I mean, not just other dogs, it was people, it was just being outside of the house because they hadn't been walked, all through COVID. And it was one dog that changed my mind. His name is Cash. And this dog was so scared. And it was our first COVID break. And Gina was sick. So I said, look, you stay in the hotel. I'll take Cash out. I didn't know what I was going to do with him because he was barking, lunging at stuff and whining. And so I thought I'll find the quietest place to sit on a cliff walk, park bench. So I sat there. And there were people walking by like every minute,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't it wasn't like Main Street. And I sat there and I just talked to him, fed him treats. He's hiding under the bench.
Yeah.
And a number of people said, oh, can I pet? No, I said, he's really scared. It's COVID. I'm just trying to slowly build his confidence. After an hour, I realized I had a different dog. He was sitting next to me,
Mm-hmm.
still not sure. When people came around, I didn't let anyone touch him. I said, if you want to do him a favor, I can give you some treats and you can just toss them to him. And if he comes up to you, just hold it in your hand. Don't move your hand towards him.
Mm-hmm.
He must come to you, but stand still. And I knew he wasn't a snapper, that, you never lure a scared dog towards you if you don't know the dog well, because you don't do this and pierce the dog's safe zone with a food treat. Because as soon as the dog takes the food treat, your empty hand is there and you get bitten.
Mm-hmm.
So they take the treat and then bite you. So that's happened to me twice in my life with different dogs. I know that. So anyway, after 3 hours, I walked back and I said, I have a different dog now.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe it because I always used to say, if you haven't done the socialization, you screwed the pooch for the dog. And he's damned for life. But now I'd say, I don't think he'll ever be what he could have been, but you can make him functional. And 3 months ago, I saw Cash. I went to a fundraiser in a brewery, and the owner brought Cash along.
Mm-hmm.
He went apeshit to see me.
Mm-hmm.
And he literally just jumped and licked me, wouldn't stop. He's wagging his whole body, his tail hurt. And then I calmed him down and we had a hug and with a chest scratch and stuff. And then he went off, going around the brewery, saying hello to everybody.
Yeah.
I would
that's
say
wonderful.
Almost a normal dog.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of times he'd react if someone would reach for him quickly or move quickly.
Right.
But we know he doesn't bite. He reacts back. He doesn't react by going forward.
Right. I wonder how many more classical conditioning sessions he got after his time with you.
Probably.
I think?
I know
Okay.
the owner worked in our office.
Yeah.
And she actually adopted him. But now he's got his life back. And I think what a glorious gift to give to a dog, the gift of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And you take his stress away for life.
Yeah. So we got a lot of comments from people saying that the longest session they've done, 20, 25 minutes. And I've actually seen trainers, suggesting that like you want to limit the sessions. You don't want them to go too long. And I think that one of the things that I've heard you say so much is that a lot of dog trainers, a lot of owners stop training their dog right when the dog starts
We're
learning.
making a breakthrough.
Right.
Yeah.
And that 25 minutes in, that's actually like when things are really starting to get rolling, because now your dog has been, ideally in this stationary place, in one place for 25 minutes. At this point, now they've acclimated to the environment. Now they're used to things. And so now their confidence is slowly increasing as they remain in this place where they're just getting tons of praise, tons of food treats.
But well timed on a trinary feedback.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be faithful to the operant binary and the classical conditioning binary. So basically, to put that into normal words, classical conditioning, you must praise more when the stimulus is present than when it is absent or at a great distance, irrelevant of the dog's behavior. It doesn't matter if the dog's growling, barking, and lunging. That is classical conditioning.
Right.
Operant conditioning, obviously, as you all know, you praise the dog more for desirable behaviors and you ignore undesirable behaviors. But when you draw up your new quadrant and put that in, what you find is, by and large, you ignore the dog if he's misbehaving. I can't. I actually need to draw it out myself.
And save it for another time. I mean, really.
No, it's so. All right, we can save it for another time. I need it written out in front of me to explain it, unless you just have a natural way of looking at your dog and you're asking yourself two questions. How under threat of the dog is by the stimulus it's scared of. So the closer the stimulus gets, the more you praise, but also you praise for better behavior. So if the stimulus is right on top of your dog, but now he's in a sit stay, you mega praise. Two other situations, you just praise, maybe give the occasional treat, and you ignore your dog, I would say, if he's misbehaving when the stimulus is absent. But you see, if I've read my book, you don't have to. The other part of the book. No, we've forgotten all this, Jamie. It's why I wrote.
No, I was laughing because you said if I read my book.
No, oh, I did.
Yeah.
I've read that damn thing so many times.
Exactly.
Now, what was I going to say? Yes, that for misbehavior, we have non-aversive solutions to every misbehavior out there. If we think about it, non-compliance by just using our voice. But the voice has gone from dog training in many ways. We don't teach cued behaviors now from the outset. Praise has been replaced largely by a click or a food treat. And that means we haven't learned to teach dogs the meaning of words, which, yeah, of course, we can use as instructions: come, sit, lie down, fetch, take, bed, go pee, etc. But where they're really important is when dogs go off track, when they misbehave. A single word corrects it because it communicates two really important pieces of information. Stop what you're doing, do this instead. I don't say a DRO, a DRI, distract, or all this woolly stuff. Tell the dog specifically what you want it to do. Sit when greeting people. Shush when barking. Outside in the toilet. Similarly, using our voice only, once the dog comprehends it and is motivated to respond, that's the first two stages of lure reward training. One, phase out the food lures. Two, decrease the food rewards and use life rewards instead. So your dog understands your verbal instruction. You've tested it. It's called science. You need numbers on it. How well does your dog comprehend? It's not, does your dog comprehend? Oh, he knows it all. Oh, he doesn't know it. No, they understand on a percentage from 0 to 100, depending on who's training them, where they are, or what's going on and what they're doing. So we need to know, do they understand the instruction and are they motivated to the max to respond? At which point, at the third stage of lure reward training, we eliminate misbehavior and non-compliance. But we're always providing palpable proof of training by looking at the response reliability percentage. It just increased from 20% off leash to now we're running at 80%. We have facts now that training is truly science-based. At which point, you see, you can use these words now to really help the dog and really help the other dog and the other person by saying simple instructions like, Rover, lie down, good dog, calm down, scratch his chest. Because if you can eliminate activity, movement, and noise, everything moves so quickly. So that's why we want to be operantly conditioning at the same time as classical conditioning. Now your feedback gets much easier to understand because it's not compounded by unruly behavior. Because you're really all the time. Remember when we worked with Nell?
Mm-hmm.
The best client I've ever had in my life, man. This dog, I didn't even tell him what to do. The first time we're trying to get video of the dog reacting on camera, because this dog always reacts with every dog, he said. Well, 2 hours later, walking all around my neighborhood, meeting hundreds of dogs, Nell didn't react, probably because I was there. But I was talking to him about what we were going to do when we got it. Eventually, just as the sun's going down, we get Nell going ballistic. Now what I do with her makes sense. But if we haven't got footage of her being crazy, no one believes, oh, look, magic, I've solved the problem. What problem sort of thing. And when we got down to resolving it, this gentleman, I would say he's my age. So, you have to cut me in half, count the rings to determine exactly how old. But he took everything on board. And I was just idly telling him what we're going to do. And he did it. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And there's one point, remember when we were filming and we're taking our eyes off the ball. He says, wait, go, sit. He says, now the dog's coming. We didn't even notice it coming around the corner. He had got his dog sitting and, and shush, giving it a preemptive shush. And it was beautiful. I think filming the solution, it was the quickest solution we ever filmed. We did it in about an hour, right? Or an hour and a half we spent with him.
Mm-hmm. All right. I've got some things I'd love your perspective on.
Okay.
Charmaine says, I always worry about inadvertently flooding a dog if the sessions are too long.
Look,
speak to that a little.
Whenever anyone comes up and says, I'm worried about this, or you shouldn't do that, what is the alternative? What if we do nothing? Then your dog is stressed out every day.
The alternative is shorter sessions. Lots of 20-minute sessions.
Oh, yeah. But your point is, this is based on subjective opinion, like mine. I used to say, oh, don't flood, don't bring a scared dog into, say, a play session if he's scared of it. Now that's my default way of solving dogs. If I know they are not aggressive and if I know they want to play, and I read the dog very quickly and say, damn, he's putting out 60 play signals a minute, but he's lunging and barking and growling. Well, you can't read behavior if the dog's making noise. But I have a score. 60 friendly behaves a minute. So what I do is I say, okay, we had our pack of 8 dogs in our private dog park. The owner brings it up on leash. I take the leash, the other side of the gate, and then the ball is thrown down the other end of the arena. I open the gate, bring the dog in, let him off leash. That's it. I've had a dog rehabilitated within seconds. Usually it's really stressful for about 10 seconds, 30 seconds when the 8 dogs come running back and sniff this poor dog. But they're all totally, they have oodles of social savvy. They know we're going to sniff you. We're not going to get in your face, And then he starts playing. I've had owners start crying, saying he hasn't played. He's growled at every dog we've met for 3 years, and we've given him back play. And then we used to open our dog park Sundays by invitation only. Well, all these rehabilitated dogs, would be invited, or our favorite owners' favorite dogs. And it was a lovely day, Sunday afternoons, just dealing with dogs that we liked or dogs that we knew were giving them their lives back. So supposition, I'd never done a 3-hour session. But when I did it, because I didn't want to go back to the hotel room. And it blew my mind. And so I did it with another dog, then another one. And I thought, that the hardest, it's the first 20 minutes is the hard bit.
Right.
And that's exactly as you said. That's when people are stopping.
Mm-hmm.
It gets easier. And if I gave an analogy, It's a different problem, but it is a temperament problem. A dog that, say, goes batshit when visitors come to the front door.
Bat poop.
Oh, bat poop. Yeah, sorry. No, bat guano.
Just goes guano.
They guano out.
They go guano.
Yeah. So when a dog guanos out and does moon loops, right? Just carry on, whatever you're doing. But get this dog to sit and lie down. I don't care how long it takes, okay? That's why we set it up. So the visitor is a faux visitor. He knows you're training your dog to try and get rid of this problem. Get your dog down, then tell him to say hello. The visitor knows. Get a treat in your hand. Hold it here. Get the dog to sit. Slip your thumb through the dog's collar so he doesn't smack you under the chin when he jumps up. And then when the dog's calm, you say, go play. And then the visitor goes out the back door, comes round to the front and does it again. You will not believe the improvement on the second re-entry. By the fourth and fifth re-entry, the dog's almost perfect. So that's another example. You see, the first time is the worst time. And how we're trying to deal with dog-dog aggression is we're passing a dog. It's a random dog. We don't know him. Then we never see him again. Well, we've got lots of tricks to set it up where the dog can see the same dog over and over.
Right.
And it rapidly accelerates the process.
So it seems to me that flooding is all about going to a more intense, overwhelming scenario, right? And it seems like a prolonged session is kind of the opposite of flooding, where it's getting easier and easier as you go. And like, it's not like more dogs are walking by together all of a sudden. That would be potentially flooding.
Flooding would be if you've got a dog on leash and another dog comes up to it, it's too much, but your dog can't get away because he's on leash. As opposed to what we did in our private dog park, all of a sudden he's off leash and the other dogs are there, but we have places where he can hide.
Right.
And if the dog hid there, I would say other dogs leave him. If he said he wanted to hide and peek for a while and then come out. So when escape is prevented, the intensity of the stimulus is increasing, that's flooding. However, it's stressful.
Right. I mean, the park bench routine, you're sitting on the park bench, the dog's on leash, underneath. They can't escape. So you want to keep everyone at a distance so as not to flood them.
I don't let anyone say, oh, I love dogs. And I just say, stop.
But so
he's really scared.
If you're staying on the park bench and people are walking by on a path that's, 15 feet away, as long as people are continuing to stay at that distance, you're not going higher over threshold. And as you remain there, the dog gets more acclimated to it. Is there a word or is there a concept for the dog running out of kind of stamina, that like the dog is kind of trying to, learn some impulse control or is dealing with some stress, and that after 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, that like they get exhausted and that leads to an undesirable outcome? Is that a thing?
It could happen, but if I saw that happening, I probably would then...
What would that look like?
End the session. Well, number one, the dog would have wet paws. He'd be leaving wet paw prints. He would be sweating. Dogs do sweat, but generally we only see it on the paws. I would keep touching him, seeing if he's heating up.
Okay.
So I would touch his head and round the neck, or 2 ears is a great test, and because a lot of blood vessels there. If he was still vocalizing, the point is, after 20 minutes,
they start calming down.
It's visible. Calming down. It's visible. And when he came out and sat next to me because he liked his chin on my lap, and then I could reach down and scratch his chest, and that's a wonderful calming thing to do. But it's kind of like, well, let's talk about puppies, because if you read what was the research? What was it called when you handle puppies when they're really ENS, early neurological stimulation, and it didn't work? Well, if you read the original study, what they did, it's too crazy for words. I can't remember the exact thing, but I think there were 5 or 6 exercises, like to turn the puppy in their hands or the neonate on his back for, I think it was 1.5 seconds. I'm not sure. Could have been 5 seconds, but certainly no longer than 5. 6 exercises, let's say for 5 seconds. 30 seconds of handling once a day max. Of course, it didn't work. Let's now go online and Google Julie Case Ultimate Canine and watch her socialization video with neonates where she has a kindergarten class. It goes on for 40 minutes. Now, can the puppies ever get too much? Yeah. You suddenly realize, oh, my puppy's fallen asleep, the kids would say. It's what puppies do. Are they stressed? I've watched these videos. I haven't seen one sign of stress in them. And these sessions go on for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and so on. But everyone says, no, you shouldn't do that. Based on what evidence? Well, it says here only 30 seconds of stimulation a day. Yeah, and it didn't work. It was really dumb to start with. It's like my retrieval study. In the 70s, I wanted to study how maternal instinct develops and to explain how it can develop, because bitches don't have sex manuals. They don't know what's about to happen. They just know they can't get through doorways into their kennel anymore because they've got bigger. Or if they get in at night, they can't get out in the morning, okay? And they're about to have an alien experience as they look back. So I researched all the studies done on retrieval in dogs. If you can believe it, every single study stated dogs do not retrieve their pups. This was unbelievable. And so, but then when I looked at their experimental design, they didn't start the study until the neonates were 10 days old. Well, when I did my study, I found the bitches stopped retrieving when the neonates were 7 days old. So they studied something that no longer happens. Of course, bitches retrieve their puppies. I knew that as a kid. I saw it in the farmyard. A bitch deciding to change her where she slept from here to there across the yard. And she went and fetched each puppy with an open gate retrieve. Very seldom saw the retrieving by the neck like kitty cats do. But I knew dogs retrieved. As I said, behavior doesn't lie. And so you've always got to look at the original study, or I believe people seeing stuff. If they can say, I saw this, or if they say, here's the video, I believe it. But if they just tell me, or if they give me their opinion, or they say I shouldn't do something, why? Why not? Have you ever tried it? No. Then how do you know it doesn't work? How do you know it doesn't work better than what you're doing? So, yeah, I would say Jamie nailed it on the head. At 20 minutes, you're really shutting down classical conditioning right at the point where the dog is starting to get calmer, less hyperactive, less lunging, and now your voice can control the lunging and the vocalization because you're sitting still and letting the environment at a comfortable distance walk by you. If I felt that, say, bench was too close to the path, I would have backed off another 25 yards. And that's the beauty when you can contain the stimulus. I would say for this, a dog park is the most unutilized training tool for on-leash dog-dog reactivity. But you don't go in there. Not yet. Not until your dog's doing jolly sniffies and play bows through a chain link fence to other dogs. So you start off, and in Berkeley, it's beautiful to do because they buried the transit system under 10 city blocks, and they had to buy the land to do this. And then they were going to build on it, and City of Berkeley says, no, you're not. Well, first they said, you're going to bury the transit system through Berkeley. So it's only one of two cities where it's underground, San Francisco and Berkeley. Otherwise, it's ugly above ground. But then you're going to donate it to the city as a park. So they were the two provisos, because otherwise you couldn't get around Berkeley without going up the hill and into Contra Costa County. So it's long and thin. So you can start classical conditioning 100 yards back from a fenced dog park. Very few dogs react then. Now, here's one tip. Obviously, you're going to come forward bit by bit, right? Don't. You come forward bit by bit, say 10 yards at a time. Then you go back 20 yards. Why? Every time you go back 20 yards, it's what? Piece of cake. All you're doing is feeding treat after treat and petting your dog and saying good dog a million times over. So forward 10 yards, 10 yards, 10 yards. Now back 30. maybe 40, forwards again, until you can sit the other side of that chain link fence for 3 hours having a picnic and your dog doesn't react once. In fact, he's interacting through the fence. And then you know it's absolutely safe to go in. Why? A very useful statistic from about 20 different animal behavior studies done on primates, wild cats, wild dogs, and stuff. What they showed was if you separate two animals by a fence, you increase the frequency of pretty much any behavior. So it could be looks, it could be stares, it can be grooming behavior, it can be steps by 40-fold. So basically, by letting two dogs meet between with a chain link fence in between them, it's like you're looking at every behavior through a microscope. So not simply pro-social, play soliciting, appeasement gestures, but also lunges, growls, and barks.
Oh.
And you have a savvy population in the dog park. Because here's another thing. I hate dog parks. They're terrible. They're dangerous. I knew once a dog attacked another dog. Well, yeah, that occasionally happens. But was the other dog taken to the veterinary clinic? No. Why? Well, there was no damage. And as we know, damage occurs in less than 99.9% of dog fights. We know that because we've counted the numbers. And so, yeah, occasionally stuff happens, but that could have happened on the street with your dog on leash, because on leash, your dog is more of a target because he will be more threatening when on leash if he's tightening the leash, if he's eyeballing, if he's out in front, you know. And so when people criticize something, you must always think, yeah, but what's the option of not going in the dog park? Because, you know, a dog park dog is a different kind of dog than the dog that's only walked on leash. Totally different, has much more confidence.
Yeah.
But
All right. Well, I think we should wrap it up here. But
already? We already just started.
We started 47 minutes ago.
All right. And we got 56 people. Oh, we just lost 2 because you said we're going to wrap it up.
But what my hope would be is that if you're watching this right now and you do have a dog, reactive dog, that you will try one of these, long classical conditioning sessions using the right feedback, praising at the right time, using food rewards at the right time, because in that 2 hours, you really can make a ton of progress. We'd love for you to try it. We'd love to hear about it. If you do try it, we want to hear how it goes. And if you don't know how to do it, then sign up for the training plan. If you still have questions,
can I say something to that?
Sure. Yeah, go for
it. And because I feel that dog training has gone back in many ways to pre-82, and I want to really promote off-leash puppy classes again with our off-leash puppy trainers directory that you'll soon be getting an email from us. So this I can give to vets. I just gave one of the largest veterinary conferences in the world, and then soon, in a couple of months, I'll be giving the largest one in the world. So I can let them know and put in their notes, you must refer puppies to off-leash classes. It's the quickest way to make a dog handleable in the clinic and prevent fear and aggression towards people and prevent off-leash reactivity for the owners. Because of the many innovations I wrote down in this book, because these were in my lectures between 2010, 2015, and I suddenly realized I haven't written this stuff down anywhere. And now I'm not lecturing, people will forget it. So that's why I wrote this book. It is, and I have never said this about any, I find it so hard being English to toot my own horn. It is a very, very unique book. It looks about principles. It talks about facts. I don't just say positive reinforcement is everything. I analyze the pros and cons of the 6 different reward-based training techniques. They all have their place. Pros and cons. Some are better for some things, others are better for others. Then I compare positive reinforcement to using aversive punishment. There's no competition. It's learning theory went down a rabbit hole in the transition between Thorndike to Skinner. Skinner put the animal in a box and gave feedback using food pellets and electric shock. And then the focus changed to research on shock instead of where it should have remained, focused on better reinforcement schedules. So it stopped right there with some very lame, relatively ineffective reinforcement schedules that everyone talks about and is tested by. So I have arranged 2 seminars in the US. I want to do a third, but I can't find the hotel. One in the Northwest, one in North Central, and one in the Northeast. So Seattle is the general registration is open. The one in Madison, Wisconsin, we're just doing pre-registration now, so we can estimate the room size, how many people are interested in it. I can't get a hotel I wanted to do it in Madison, New Jersey. So the 2 seminars I'm giving are dog-dog reactivity, all these natural techniques that go back to classically conditioning, operative conditioning at the same time, using verbal feedback, and oodles and oodles and oodles of food reward and patience, lengthy sessions. And then the other one will be on what is my joy in dog training. It's teaching absolute reliable responses. And we measure them, and we know that just a little higher on basic manners than bomb dogs. Bomb dogs go up to about 97.5% reliable. That means on a single cue, what is the likelihood the dog will do it? And that's why when using bomb dogs, they'll use 2 at the same time. Now, it's so unlikely both dogs will miss it on the same day. But we do the same with any behavior. Sit, come, settle down. The length of the settle down, we quantify it. And it's a big thing that's happened in training over the last 20 years. The whole demographic has totally changed. There's no quantification as we've moved away from competition in obedience and trials. And so we don't know how reliable the dog is. And so we think he knows more than he does. And then one day he moves from your car to your front door, as he's done twice a day, over and over, every day. But today he runs in the street. You say sit, but doesn't stop him. That's kind of what it's all about. So please spread the word about the seminars. I hope you enjoyed this. This is good to be live again, although we didn't get any questions to answer because I was talking too much. But now, the next time, I've said what I want to say now.
All right.
I've said, hey, I promise next time I won't say a word until you read a question out from the screen. I'll say, hi.
Okay, you heard it here first.
Yeah, right.
We'll see if you
Cheers,
can pull
everybody.
it off.
It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we'll do more of these soon. It's been a while, but
back in the saddle.
Saddle. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like button. Help other people find it. If you think other people can benefit.
You mustn't say that.
No, you can say that.
Oh, you can say it?
I'm pretty sure you can say that just fine. I think you can say like and share and subscribe, all those things. So thanks, everybody. Let's do it again soon. And right, if you've got that dog reactive dog, let's fix it. If you need help, sign up for the training plan. We have very clear instructions, and we will answer your questions if you don't understand how to use them or you run into obstacles.
And enjoy some good walks and sitting down on a park bench and watching the world go by over the weekend.
Yeah.
It really is good for people too. How often do you do that in your life? Sit down and try and think about nothing apart from what your dog's doing.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Bye.
That's good.